if you don't prioritize yourself of like, what is it that you want in 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years, if you're not envisioning that as you're creating and building what you're doing now, it's not going to get on your schedule. It's not going to happen.
Rajinder Rai, a pharmacist and functional medicine trained practitioner on women's health. She's the founder of Sunrise Health, training women to align their bodies with their ambition.
Treat your body like you treat your business. You're not going to not look at your numbers on a regular basis to see the health of your business. Why do you not know what's going on in your body?
Hi, CEOs. Welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I'm your host, Suneera Madhani. And today, you guys just loved every episode that we have done on health, especially women's health. We're talking hormones, we're talking health span, we're talking longevity, we're talking how you can shave a decade off of your life in 10 weeks. And today I have brought in the expert, Rajinder Rai, who is a pharmacist and functional medicine trained practitioner on women's health, a strategist who is helping women reverse their biological clocks. She's the founder of Sunrise Health, and Rajinder runs 30 years of experience in pharmacy with feminine leadership, training women to align their bodies with their ambition, which I love. Her dose of pause method bridges science, strategy, and soul, helping founders expand both, get this, your health span and your wealth span, which I love. So Rajinder, welcome to CEO School.
Thank you so much, Suneera.
I'm so excited to have you because this topic is so critical and important. And I also feel like there's so much information out there. Like all of a sudden, I think Oprah did her big women's hormone show, which was epic and awesome to see that level of conversation on like mainstream television, all the conversations being talked about now on every podcast, every place I tune in, I am learning about women's health. I love that we're having this conversation, but also I am so confused on what applies to me, what is true information, what is misinformation. So I'm so excited to just like deep dive into all of that with you.
Let's get into it.
Talk to me a little bit about your background, how you got started in this space. And I know you were a doctor of pharmacy and then shifted into this functional medicine space. So tell me a little bit about that journey.
So I am a pharmacist, licensed pharmacist, a couple of states. I own my own brick and mortar pharmacies, have always been the hub of, the center of our community of like resource. So whatever my patients needed, we catered our services based on that, from compounding to all the way to hospice care. So really being able to hear what they needed and then cater the services accordingly. So I've had the opportunity of working from patient zero, helping women in fertility, all the way till end of life. So chronic disease or aging is something that's very familiar to me. But what, all of us really have is that we say health is wealth, but in reality, it's not, right? We have it like probably quoted somewhere, we share it. But, what I see as a pharmacist is chronic disease. People are not putting health first. And it's the way we've been conditioned to be. And I myself am one of those women that are high functioning that really didn't, during the day, I was a pharmacist helping everyone with their health. But, the flip side, I wasn't taking care of myself. I was running around, no sleep, not eating, and just like running from one pharmacy to the other, picking up kids and all of that. And it nearly took 3 life crises for me to finally wake up to say, what's going on? I, at 37, was walking around with blood clots. And then a few years later, I lost my dad. And then about 5 years ago, my daughter was 18 and she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Doing good now, knock on wood. But I saw myself in her because what she was doing the day before her chemo, she was worried about her finals. And like my whole life flashed in front of me. Like I taught her that. So when I talk about like health span and wealth span, like we're creating everything for our children. We're especially South Asians, right? Doing it for my kids. And, I'm building you this and we're doing this. But we're also passing these habits and passing what they see as the way life is supposed to be.
This is hitting hard.
And so
true.
that's where everything just like collided. My professional life and my personal life just came at me all at once. And I happened to be 47 at that time. So my body is changing. A lot of things are happening. And so after her treatment, I found a book, somehow, the universe is always putting messages. It's called The Body Keeps Score. And I think that was the like aha moment that I didn't know I was operating, why I was doing what I was doing. And so I was operating like staying busy, but I didn't, even though I didn't need to have busy, we had pharmacists working, we had, people, I didn't need to be there. But my belief or the way I was wired was that my worth was based on my productivity. And so everything that I did was micromanaging control had to do with how I was wired, my physiology. And so the book really kind of put it together that we carry stress, like, it could have been trauma, and trauma doesn't have to be like something traumatic happened to you. It's like the microaggressions that may have happened over your lifetime or, going through a life crisis. And I had surgery on Friday. I was back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
My dad passed away. I was back to work within a week. I didn't give myself any space or pause to process emotions.
Yeah.
And that's where we go wrong as women, is that, we're just like, we have to be strong for everyone else in our lives, but we're not realizing what is happening to us physiologically. And, at a certain age, we can continue to keep pushing it forward because we have the estrogen, progesterone, all of the hormones that are, allowing us to push through. And then we get to, our 40s, mid 40s, 50s, things are starting to deplete. And then you start to notice that, I'm tired or I'm not sleeping, but we play it off. Oh, I'm a busy mom. We make excuses because it's like we can like fine tune and hone in on like everyone else. Like if something's going wrong, we figure it out.
Yeah.
Whether it's our kids or our employees or the dog. Yeah. But when it comes to us, we look in the mirror and we look fine. I can keep going.
Yeah.
We don't stop. And I think that is where I see, as much as, I love all the conversation in women's health, there's a lot of solutions out there. But like you said, when do you start? When do you start? The sooner you understand your physiology, that it is like the coding, right? You're in fintech, you're building, right? It's what the codes say is what your output's going to be.
Yeah.
So if you yourself don't understand that, how can you make changes in your life? I'm a pharmacist and I believe in pharmaceutical care, but we can't just keep relying on that as like, okay, if I get sick, there's some medication for me. Yes, there is, but that's also your call to like make some changes in addition to that.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, what you just shared on your journey, thank you for sharing that, by the way. It's just, it really hits deep, like what you're sharing about your daughter and then her being there worrying about her finals. But that is like what she is seeing as important because that is a reflection of you and all your hard work. And it's like the same in terms of like, it really hits for me as like watching my immigrant parents work really, really hard. And even though I can be very comfortable, I'm pushing and I'm productive. And I think about my daughter now, she's about to turn 10 and I don't want her to be constantly, I want her to pause. I want her to be able to take time and understand herself and not just push through or just be busy because that's what she sees me as.
Right.
And that is, I think a lot of women that are probably listening right now took a moment of pause right now with that, not just that story, but with that realization that we are passing those things down to our kids. And at the same time, you also shared we are doing this for our kids, like at the same, in the same sentence, like the reason why I do everything that I do, the reason why you do everything that you do is so that you can provide this incredible life for your kids so that you can better whatever, so that they have all the opportunities that you didn't get to have.
Right.
This realization of the pause though is so important. And I know, the dose of pause is something that is the method that you've created. And I do think that we all need to have that dose of pause and reflect on this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, we go from one transition jump right into the next one, even if it's not a crisis. So think about like my daughter's in her 20s. She's adulting now. If she gets married, then you jump into marriage, then you jump into having kids and so forth and so forth. There's never a time of like a transitional stage.
Yeah, you don't get a
and
break.
So forth.
Yeah.
And so those are bigger, but even day to day in your decision making, you're just jumping from one thing to the other. And so for really what Dose of Pause is, it's not really like slowing down. It's just a process for you to process your decision making. P for power. Is this depleting you or is it replenishing you? A is for awaken. Are you in the present moment or are you on autopilot, just running through things, like in the motion of things? And U, which is the real, important part, is unraveling. So some of the stories. So for me, I built a very successful business, did it with the story of fear, right? The underlying fear of like, I had to prove myself, being where I came from and what I was doing. And maybe, people that didn't think that I could do it. So it was in spite of, and then so everything I did was based on productivity. And so that turned into my story that my value is based on the productivity. So if I move away or, don't continue to move the needle, then everything's going to fall apart. I'm worthless in a way. So that component of it is giving yourself time to start understanding, why are you doing what you're doing? Like now, starting all over again, I'm in a completely different, not just mindset, my whole identity is different because I'm doing it from a place of abundance now. My story is that I can create anything that I want. And I'm doing it for myself, in alignment with myself, versus my old story was I had to prove it, And so having that space to reflect on those stories of why are you doing what you're doing, that's important. And then S is self, is like, again, creating space for yourself, for that self-belief, for that self-trust, and to shift into that identity that you need to really do the next things that you want. And so back to kind of like what we were talking about, health span, wealth span, is that a lot of women that I work with, they're, either shifting from, they were in corporate or they were working for somebody and then they want to go into business. And to say that you want to go from this point to that point without shifting your identity, that's why it's hard to kind of do that. You have to be the person that you want to be in order to run those, scale of business or, start something, have the courage to do so. And then E is elevate, which I think again, being science-minded, being in pharmacy for so long, it's not woo-woo, it's your frequency. I wholeheartedly believe, since I've shifted in one, spending time with myself and understanding what is it that I want, what is it that I like, enjoying time with myself, right? I was avoiding myself for 50 years. Then you start to like magnetize people around you on that same wavelength. Here we are, right? But you can't get to that elevation until you do these other steps. And now it's become part of my life. There's no way, even a year ago, I was still like almost stuck in my pharmacy due to whatever reason. I couldn't take time off. And here I am. Since the last time we met, I've been traveling like every weekend. And that wouldn't have been possible had I not, put that out there of that's what I want in my life. And I got it.
I love the pause method. Oh my God. I love listening to you talk. And I think it's such an important, it's just reflection. It's creating space.
Mm-hmm.
That is something like even just my shift in energy sitting with you right now of like the speed at which I'm even conversing, just taking a moment, taking a pause, taking space and not just moving into the next thing. Right. If we just got one thing out of this entire show right now, you can like close the podcast. You can thank Rajinder on social and we really thank you because it is so important. It's that reminder to create space. You can't blame yourself. I can't blame myself. I can't blame her. There's a lot thrown at a woman. There is a lot that is on our plates. There's life, there's our business, there's our kids, there's our responsibility. And a lot of the times, all of that, the extra labor that's unaccounted for of the mental load that is also on us as women. And so, although like pausing and having space is such a privilege, it's not that I don't want it. It's hard for me to get there. what do you suggest? And like, how did you go from it? And I do find that women that are, I want to call them more experienced or a little bit older in like where I'm at in my life, right? So I'm about to hit in my 40s and you are now in your early 50s. I feel like every decade that kind of spans, you reflect back and you've gotten like, you do get older and wiser. And like the thing that you get wise about is like less fucks given. The things that you get wise about is like not caring so much or other people's opinions. And it's like the extra stressors.
Right.
And so you're just like moving and finding that space. But is there something that you can share with us about that clarity or that context? Because one of the words that I wanted to pull up here that you say often is capacity.
Right. You kind of said, you asked about space, right?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that I get a lot from women is I don't have enough time. So when you're talking about like, how can I make these changes? Or when do I find time to add something else to my list? Like, you know, I know you're good about like your time and your schedule and so forth, but most people.
Oh, but let's be honest. I'm just hijacking and like finding the code or like the structure to fit what works to be a high performing overachiever that never gets to pause. Like that's what I just did.
But when we really sit down and see where our time is going and we track it, like, you know, looking at our numbers, really tracking to see where it is. We all have 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I think where we go wrong, it's all or nothing. Like, oh, I don't have an hour to go do whatever it is. And so it's like, I can't do it. So we talk ourselves out of it, that there's something else more important. So it goes back to like, what is it that you really want? Like right now, you know, 37, 38, in 10 years, in 20 years. And what is it that you see yourself doing? You really have to envision that. It's like yes, we want to be present, but what is the lifestyle that you want to have? What you want to be traveling? You want to be able to lift your suitcase over your head and put it into the bin, right? Yeah. If you can't do that, you can't travel, right? My grandmother was not at my wedding. She was just in her late 60s. She died in her sleep, heart attack. I want to be there for my granddaughter, not just my daughter. I don't think my daughter's getting married anytime soon yet, but my vision is I want to be there, right? So you have to put that nugget out there. So I have to be healthy in order to do that. So if you don't prioritize yourself of like, what is it that you want in 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years, if you're not envisioning that as you're creating and building what you're doing now, it's not going to ever happen. It's not going to get on your schedule. It's not going to happen. And so for me, it started with, again, just simple things in the morning time, like where I started to go to sleep earlier, right? So if we're talking about what's the secret of longevity, sleep, getting your sleep in between the hours of, 10:30, 11:30, your growth hormone kicks in. It's not about you have to have 8 hours. It's the timing of when you're going to sleep, right? So if you're sleeping and, ideally you stopped eating 3 hours before, then the body starts go into like cleanup mode, right? If we're still digesting food, if we're still not sleeping during that time, like the processes that the body is designed to do never kicks in. And that's why we wake up still lethargic, even though we may have slept or something. And we start aging, right? The secret to beauty is sleeping. And that's all I did is I shifted my time of when I went to sleep. Get up a little bit early. You don't have to get up that early, but that's for me personally, my quiet time before anybody else is downstairs. It's dead silent. My dog's down, but then he snuggles with me. And I cherish that. 10 minutes. And that was enough shift for me to start saying, oh, I don't journal. I know when you were talking, like I couldn't get myself into that, but I will listen to prayers or mantras. Yeah. And that helps me just reset. It's just like getting whatever's on my mind off, that somebody else is taking care of it for me. And so that allows me to have space, the capacity to take on whatever is going to come at me. Other simple things, just going for a walk, like take your coffee, go outside, you get the sunlight. It's going back to basics.
It is really going back to basics.
We're overcomplicating it. And yes, you can biohack this, you can biohack that, peptide this. I mean, that'll have to be another episode. But in simplicity, it's just sleep, nature, nutrition.
It is literally just back to the basics. It's that simple. And it really is that simple. Mm-hmm. It's like finding those moments. And I appreciate you giving us permission for that pause and taking the space, even if it is that 10 minutes. But the reminder to slow down is so important. Something that you say is that you can't expand your wealth span if your health span is shrinking. What's the story behind that realization? What is that?
Yeah. So health span is really the amount of time you have that you're vibrant and you're active and you're like, on a cellular level that you are able to do things. So you have like your biological age and chronological age. Yeah. Chronological age is the age that you are in years. And then your biological age is the age of actually like your cellular health of how fast you're aging. So biological age is you're older than your actual chronological age. So I'm 53. My biological age is 40 something. I can't remember, 42. So I'm actually 10 years younger than my chronological age. And so that is what you want. And that's something that you can achieve based on understanding your physiology and simple things that you can do that, you don't need a prescription for. And if you get to a point where you do need other, things to help accelerate that process, that's available. But first and foremost, you have to start with the basics.
I love that. And I think it's an important distinction between chronological age and biological age, because my grandmother was at my wedding, and I had both my grandmothers were at my wedding. One was very active and one wasn't. And one of my grandmothers, my nanny mom, my mom's mom, was very just energetic, and the woman was dancing and just, same age as my other grandmother, but difference between your biological age versus your chronological age. So, and people will say, I feel young. And that's what we all want. And that's the age that is the most important. It's the biological age.
Yeah. And so again, with your question, you were talking about health span to wealth span. So if you have the ambition of building, scaling, you have to be able to kind of sustain that energy to get there. Or again, in my pharmacy world, I've seen amazing people build a lot, but then they end up spending all of it for long-term care or the care because they didn't take care of themselves and put health first. What good is that wealth that you created if it's not going to really go to generations? It's going to go to taking care of you.
It is. And you don't get to enjoy it. We all want longevity. We get to live one life. And we all want to live as long as we possibly can.
Well, that's the difference is we want to live long, but we want to be vibrant.
Yes,
so
we want to be vibrant and live. Yes. That is it. That's the health.
So women do actually live longer than men.
Yes.
But on average about 10 to 12 years, but we're in a more debilitated state. So why do we want to live longer if we're going to end up, not still being able to do stuff. And I see it in pharmacy.
Why is it that women are living in a more debilitated state? And what can we do to prevent that?
Stress. Becoming caregivers, absorbing everything that happens, staying silent, becoming, isolated, not having that social connection, not having the right circles. So it comes back to the, body keeps score, that we don't realize on a cellular level the body is hearing and has Excel spreadsheets on everything that has happened to us. And we just think because we have been conditioned to push through, we don't realize that damage and
it's compounding.
It's compounding. And then by the time it does finally happen, it's so debilitated that you're not able to reverse it.
Is it ever too late? Right? Or is it, I'm going to make a decision. One of the things that you and I were talking about is you can make me a decade younger in 10 weeks. And I was like, sign me up for that one. Right. I was like, I want speed. Can I do it now? And I'm healthy now, or I think I'm healthy, but I actually don't know my I want to figure out how to do that. So I want you to share how we can find out our biological age, because I think our audience would be really interested in that. But is it ever too late, or is it can we just start now and we can start reverse aging?
I don't think there is a time. Obviously, the sooner that you do it.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's knowing your numbers. I think treat your body like you treat your business. You're not going to not look at your numbers on a regular basis to see the health of your business. Why do you not know what's going on in your body?
Why? Yes.
Right? There's no right time, wrong time. It's now.
It's now.
Yeah.
That's what we all need. We needed this today. There's a reason why you are on today's episode on Monday. We are starting our week off right. Listening to Dr. Rajinder remind us that the time is now.
Yeah.
And we control that. And we can take a pause and we can say no and we can reflect and we can understand and we don't have to keep rolling. Like we don't have to keep rolling. It is a choice. Like we're choosing to put our bodies through this and the time is now and it must stop. It must stop. We're going to make it stop. How do we actually check our biological age? Do you have it? Like, how do we do that? Where do we go?
Yeah, we actually created a quiz.
Okay.
So I think
can we link it? Okay,
yeah.
We're going to link it. Okay, we're going to link the quiz.
So that's really simple. And,
I'm Jennifer Aniston and Friends, by the way. I used to love those quizzes online for the millennials .
And so it'll give like an assessment of like, are you at your age? Are you younger? Or are you aging faster? And, for those that, want to kind of really know, I love doing, you can do a lab test, a biological age test, and it gives you kind of like your biological age. I use it as like a aha, like, wow. The reason I started doing that also was I went for like a skin analysis. If they were able to do it where it prompted me to take action, right? Like where I am, it's great. But then they also showed me what I would look like if I continue on the path in 10 years. And then they also showed me what I'd look like 10 years ago. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to go back that way. And so that's what this is as well too, is that if you knew where you are now, and if you could do some tweaks to go back a little bit, why not?
Yeah.
And if you're happy where you are, then what do you do to maintain it?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of things we can do to externally look good. But again, I want to be able to travel where I can take care of my own luggage. I want to be at my granddaughter's wedding. I want, a lot of those things to be vibrant. I don't want, again, if we're doing everything for my kids, I don't want my kids to have to worry about me. I want to be self-sustaining. And that is one thing, I think, the secret that I've learned from my patients, where I've had the privilege of celebrating centennial birthdays.
Wow.
With many of them.
Wow,
and that's what
incredible.
It is that they are still active, they're social, they have, full autonomy, and they don't give a damn.
I love that. That's so cool. That is incredible. I want that for my mom. I want that for us. Like I want that for my kids. And it starts now, and it's those basic things. I know we are not going to have time. We're going to have to do a completely 2-part episode on on all things hormones, because you crushed it at the MFC retreat. So we had Rajinder come to the MFC retreat, and she led a women's health panel. We talked. We had some really fun conversations about what is common but not normal. We talked about sex. We talked about
new KPIs.
Orgasms are the new KPI. We had so much fun on that panel discussing hormone health. Are there resources that we should be paying attention to right now versus not? Just because there's so much information out there.
Women's health is getting a lot of attention, as it should. And I think it's amazing. Even FDA recently took away a black label warning that was really creating hesitation for women to use hormones. And so that just recently happened. So that's a step in the right way. And I think there's amazing doctors now that are getting extra training so that it's not like your OBGYN. They're specializing in perimenopause, menopause care, where that is their focus. And I think it's important. You can go to Menopause Society. They have a whole list of doctors that are trained to help women specifically for that. I like giving women choices. I think that traditional medicine is available, but there's also holistic medicine and even alternative medicine that's available. And what I like to do is give women that spectrum that, I go for lymphatic massages. I go for even stretching.
Okay.
I do, when the time is right, I'll seek pharmaceuticals, HRT. Right now, technically, I'm an overachiever. I love being an overachiever. Like average age for women when they hit menopause is 51. So I'm 53 and I'm still technically perimenopause. So I'm going to keep pushing that again. There's more than one way of treating what's happening. The take-home message is, what does natural mean? Natural doesn't mean that you have to endure symptoms or feel, that you have to push through. comes back to the same conditioning that women have as like, oh, I just have to deal with it or I have to bear it. No, you don't. There's a lot of solutions out there, and there's going to be one that's right for you.
I love that. It's like really what you said in the beginning of like, you have to really understand your own DNA, your own biology, your own physiology in order to have a map. And I think for all the CEOs that are listening, because we all love a good scorecard, we love a good spreadsheet, we love a good report. It is our health report. Like that is what we're looking for. So we're going to go take that quiz, and then you can help navigate us into what's next onto the path. And before, and also with overachievers, what we're trying to do sometimes, we'll hear noise and we're like, oh, my friend's doing this thing, I need to do that.
Right.
My friend's doing hormone replacement therapy, I need to do that. My friend's doing whatever on NADs and I need to do that. Sometimes I'll get my information from my friends, but what's happening for her does not necessarily mean it's right for my body. And so we do need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's why I love doing the events that I do, is that I do bring in experts from different genres and perspectives talking about the same thing. And sometimes there's a little banter, which is good, because you want to see that you can have discourse, and you, as being in charge of your own health, you decide what resonates with you. And, again, if there's something that I would leave, want the audience to know, is that be selective of who is on your healthcare team.
Yeah.
Right. We would never let somebody tell us who to go, who our hairstylist is going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. That is true.
Right. But we're not selective about who our healthcare providers are.
Yeah.
Why not?
Super important. What a great conversation, Rajinder, today. As always, you're so knowledgeable. We will all be following along on Sunrise Health to know all the events. We're going to take the quiz, and we're definitely going to be taking our dose of pause. So thank you so much for today's episode.
Thank you for having me.
You guys enjoyed this conversation, I need to know. We're in year 5 of the show. We're bringing in true experts and unique conversations here. And I want to know what you want to learn about. I want you to ask Rajinder questions. I want you to ask me questions. I want you to participate back online, leave us a review, tag us on social. We'll be in our DMs. So ask away, and also let us know what you want to hear next. I can't wait to see you on the other side, and I can't wait to see you next week on CEO School. Bye, everyone.